They fall, they get hurt, they cry, and everything is shoved down on professionalism. Professionalism means how honestly you do your duty. It can include how you carry yourself, how loyal you are to your work, and how you behave while doing your duty. K-pop idols and actors have very high standards of professionalism. Their attire, behavior, skills, and their interactions are always on point. Their bar is so high that even slight variation from their usual and people start calling them out for it. And they are labeled unprofessional. I call that variation and not unprofessionalism because 90% of the time K-pop idols are called out for something that was unavoidable. I specifically wanted to talk about stages because they are mostly live and on stages idols are most liable to accidents and injuries. Most famous example of this is gfriend. They got their big break through one of their stages. It was some festival and they had to perform, but the stage was wet due to rain. They still performed despite all the risk involved and fell for like dozen times in a 3-minute video. Imagine the horror they were facing at the moment when they knew they could fall in the next second. Anxiety, fear, embarrassment, and most of all pain. They had to face all in a single stage with hundreds of people watching, and yet they were expected to keep performing. Nobody from backstage, their management, or audience tried to stop the performance. It could have been seriously dangerous for them. I'm glad they went out of it with just abrasions or some bruises. They could have get fractures or dislocations from it. It was horrific for me to watch it in a video and people were watching it live. A lot of audience were cheering for them and they got famous for their professionalism, but it was something too painful to even consider professionalism. It was more on the line of toxic professionalism. Blackpink is another example. They always get the worst end of the straw, even in this case. One example is Jennie, who has been a victim of online bullying for long for her unprofessional behavior on stage. She was once bullied for her lazy dancing, when in reality she wasn't feeling well at that time, and yet she had to perform and had to face severe backlash for not performing up to mark. She had to give handwritten apology for her fans who were disappointed at her. The worst was when she was once bullied for leaving the stage when she had a wardrobe malfunction, and she went off stage for a moment to get that right and had to face the title of being unprofessional again. Winter was recently a center of discussion because of injection marks on her forearm, which were later proven to be IV marks because she was feeling sick and she was having intravenous nutrition just so she could perform on her concerts. And don't get me started on falling on stage. There can be a whole compilation of that. Of course, a lot of K-pop idols fell and are supposed to get up and keep performing. It's fine if they can. But most of the time, falling on those stages can cause serious injuries, and yet they are supposed to get up and keep going without showing any sign of pain and get over it just to show their professionalism. A lot of idols, including BTS and the recent example of Shuava from G Idol, collapsed on stage due to overwork and exhaustion, or probably disease. Oogie had to take her out and she later apologized for it instead of Cube. Because it was Cube not taking care of their artists and making them perform when she was seriously sick. She even said that in a previous concert. Idols aren't allowed to leave the stage by their companies and resultantly they collapse on stage, which if we think is worse for company's image. It only shows that they are so much intimidated by their companies and fans that they can't even go on medical leaves. They have to be so professional and workaholic in front of their fans that they'll rather collapse but can't say that they want to skip a concert because of disease or exhaustion or physical inability. It's understandable that K-pop has very high standards and a lot of people are inclining towards Korean entertainment industry because of the quality and hard work they put into it. But there should be a certain limits to it. Winter can take a break if she is ill and can skip a concert but can come back as soon as she feels better. She doesn't need to go on IVs just to fulfill her duty of being an idol. Jennie doesn't need to explain anybody that she had to go on backstage to get her wardrobe repaired to prevent any further mishappening. Oogie didn't need to apologize for taking Shwaba backstage because she collapsed on stage. And most importantly, idols shouldn't be allowed to dance on wet stages to prevent accidents which might result in serious disabilities. Companies should keep a check on their idols' health and their working conditions. The only way to prevent this is if we keep the management accountable for their working ethics. Idols are here to work, not to break bones, just because they wanted to be on stage.